Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my most humble pranams at the lotus feet of beloved Bhagwan. Dearest Swami, respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, heartfelt Sai Ram to all of you. It is indeed an honor, privilege, and a great pleasure to be here present with so many of you who have great love for God in your hearts. Love for God is indeed a blessing from God, and we must be very happy and grateful at the same time that we have been blessed with this kind of love. We have all gathered here in this love for God, in the spirit of the brotherhood of man under the fatherhood of God, in order to enjoy this satsang with the God in a human form that we all have been lucky to know, that is our beloved Swami Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba. You know, many times, many people, they have come to Swami and they have asked him, who are you? Swami, who are you? Bhagwan, who are you? Baba, who are you? And every time that this question has been asked of Swami, his answer has been remarkably consistent, in fact the same. In different words, the answer has always been, I am God, I am divine. But Swami does not stop at that. He goes on to say, I am God, but if you inquire within, you will realize that you too are God. Most of us remember only the first statement and forget the second statement. In fact, the goal of our lives is to remember that second statement and live by that second statement. So as I said, many times Swami has been asked this question, who are you? And he has given this answer in different ways. There was one occasion in the interview room when a group of Westerners asked Swami this question, Swami, who are you? That was when Swami sang in his sweet voice a song that has become very popular today. Swami said, love is my form, truth is my breath, bliss is my food. That was how Swami introduced himself. Swami said, love is my form, truth is my breath, and bliss is my food. And then Swami went on to add, my life is my message, expansion is my life. The theme of our conference is my life is my message, expansion is my life. The fourth line in this song that Swami used to introduce himself. So, without going into the first three lines, which is love is my form, truth is my breath, and bliss is my food, I would like to go to this fourth line, my life is my message, expansion is my life. You know, the beautiful thing about this song is, each and every line of this song contains the secret to life. We need not understand this song fully. If we understand any one line of the song, it's enough. If I understand love is my form, it's enough. If I understand truth is my breath, it's enough. If I understand bliss is my food, it's enough. For this conference we have chosen, my life is my message, expansion is my life. Let us try to understand this, because understanding it would be enough. Let me take you back in time to the 4th of October 2007. It was a very, very special day. Bhagwan, as you all know by this time, had sustained a fracture because of a fall, and he would be coming out for darshan in the wheelchair sofa or in the car. On that day, that is the 4th of October 2007, Bhagwan arrived for darshan at around 5 in the evening. And after the bhajans, after the darshan, there were the bhajans, because there would be Veda chanting going on when Swami would come for darshan. The bhajans got over. Usually what would happen those days is Swami would ask for the Aarti whenever he wishes. Swami will look at the priest who would be sitting down. He would look to his side, and the priest would instantly light the Aarti, and that would be the indication for the students who would be singing bhajans to stop the bhajans and start singing the Aarti. And as the Aarti is sung, Swami would slowly, with the help of one or two attendants there, get up and walk to the car, sit in the car, and then go back to the residence. This was the usual practice. But that day something different happened. Swami did not get up. As the Aarti began, he sat for almost the entire time of the Aarti. After the Aarti got over, Swami beckoned and asked for Professor Anil Kumar, his translator. When he came into the mandir, Swami told him something and told him to announce it. So in the bhajan hall now, Swami is seated on the chair. Next to him is Professor Anil Kumar. A mic was placed in front of him, and Professor Anil Kumar made the announcement that Swami had told him to make, and it turned out to be something that none of us had expected. It was announced. Swami said, "Today you will be getting the greatest darshan." And what is that? The Vishwa Virata Swarupa Darshan. What is the Vishwa Virata Swarupa Darshan? This is the darshan that Lord Krishna gave Arjuna on the battlefield when he was giving the Bhagavad Gita. This is the cosmic form of the Lord. We know our Swami, right? He is in the human form. But there is a cosmic form. And Swami was announcing that this cosmic form of the Lord can be seen today. Where? Swami said, if you look out in the southwesterly direction, that is towards where the airport is in Puttaparthi. Swami even gave the location, the airport, at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. Those who wish to see can see it. And Swami said, all can see this. It is not that you have to be in a special state, or you have to belong to a special religion, or only some few blessed devotees. No. Swami said, all those who wish to see it, who have the desire to see it, can see this today at 7 o'clock. Be there at the airport. That was the announcement that was made. You can just imagine the thrill and joy and excitement for everybody who had assembled there. Not only in Puttaparthi, immediately there were some calls made to nearby areas also, telling people that if you can come to Puttaparthi within 1 hour, come. Because today at 7 p.m. at the airport, we are going to have the Vishwa Virata Swarupa Darshan. Imagine this darshan. Seeing the Lord in his cosmic form. There was a lot of excitement generated. All of us rushed. They say all roads lead to Rome, right? Because that was the size of the Roman Empire. But on that day, all roads led to the airport in Prashantinilayam. To the airport in Prashantinilayam. Everybody started rushing towards the airport. So much so that the whole road got jammed. The airport road got jammed because everybody is coming. There's no parking space sufficient there near the airport. It is just a road, right? So everybody is parking on the road. And as more and more people started parking the vehicles, the road got occupied. The full road is being occupied. So people are even parking their cars like half a kilometer behind, getting down from the car and running into the airport. I was present on that day, and I think almost about 10 to 15,000 people had gathered in the airport. And now, to add to all this fun and thrill, guess what happens? Bhagwan also comes to the airport. Swami comes in his car to the airport. A few of my friends and brothers, they were saying that as they were coming on the road, this road was blocked, correct? Because everybody has rushed to the airport. So the road is blocked. Nobody can actually pass the vehicle on the road. And now Swami's car is coming. So what to do? Groups of 15-20 students, they literally lifted cars. They're lifting the car and putting it to the side so that Swami's car can go through. Just imagine. That was the way the road was cleared. And Bhagwan arrived at the airport. As I said, it was the 4th of October. It is winter in Prasanthi Nilayam, in Puttaparthi, in India actually. It is winter. So winter is the time when the sun sets early and it becomes dark. By 7 o'clock, it was completely dark. And the Puttaparthi airport is not a regularly functioning airport. Correct? Because of which, there are no major lights. So it was completely dark and Swami drove onto the runway, main runway. And all the people rushed into the runway. Everybody rushed. And by now, because Swami has come, the crowds grew even larger. Maybe 20,000, 25,000, 30,000 people on that runway. All of them surrounding one little car. And Bhagwan is also not seen because, as I said, it's very dark. That was when the light inside the car was switched on. And everybody could see that beautiful, lovable form of Bhagwan sitting in the car. And everybody was thrilled, everybody was rushing, and everybody was crowding. It was jam-packed. We were like sandwiched. Everybody wants to come near the car. And when I say everybody, it's not hundreds, it is thousands. 20 to 30,000 people. And this was not Sai Kulwant, this was not an orderly darshan session. So discipline was gone. There was nothing. Devotion was in the front. Discipline went to the back seat. Everybody is crowding, and what does Swami do? Swami tells, open the car, I want to come out. Oh my God, you can just imagine the rush now. The car door opened. Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Everybody is screaming joy, shouting, Bolo Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba ki Jai. They're all shouting like this, and everybody is crowding, And some people, they said, Swami, please don't come out now. It's a very uncontrollable crowd. Swami, we are worried about your security. So Swami played the divine drama. He went back into the car. He sat for a while and then drove back to Prasanthi Nilayam. That was all that happened. So now the question is asked, what was the Vishwarupa Darshan that day? Did anybody see the Vishwarupa? Or did the Lord's word go wrong? Swami had very clearly said, anybody who wishes to see the Vishwarupa can see the Vishwarupa, can see the cosmic form of the Lord. But none of us saw any of that. The cosmic form of the Lord. When we see the paintings that are made in the Bhagavad Gita, it is shown as the Lord with thousands of hands and thousands of heads, thousands of faces, thousands of eyes. No, that is the cosmic form of the Lord, that huge form of the Lord. But we did not see anything like that. So did the avatar go wrong? No. The Lord can never be wrong. because it is not as if Swami speaks the truth, Swami does righteous acts. Whatever Swami speaks is the truth. And whatever action he does is righteous. That is the definition of righteousness. Which means when Swami said, all those who wish to see can see, that is not wrong. That is the right thing. Then why did we not see? Because Swami had said, those who wish to see can see. Maybe we didn't wish to see. What do I mean by we didn't wish to see? What is the Vishwarupa of the Lord? Swami himself has explained this multiple times. In fact, let me take you to the 5th of July 2001, the Guru Purnima Day discourse. In that, Swami clearly said that the cosmic form of the Lord is described as Sahasra Shirusha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat, meaning the form of the Lord has 1,000 heads, 1,000 hands, thousands of eyes. And then Swami in that discourse asked, do you think God is a very funny looking creature with thousands of heads and thousands of eyes? Swami said, no, you have to understand the context. In the Vedic times, when this Purusha Suktam was seen by the great seers of Bharat, Swami said in societies of those times, there were only about 1,000 people. And so, the mantra is Sahasra Shirusha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. All the 1,000 heads that you see around are the heads of God. Or all the thousands of hands that you see around are the hands of God. All the 1,000 legs and 1,000 eyes that you see around are the eyes and legs of God. In short, everyone is God. And if you are able to see God in everyone, that is the Vishwarupa Darshan. That is the glimpse that Lord Krishna gave Arjuna on the battlefield. It is not as if he became that form with 1,000 heads. That is the way artists depict it. Many times Swami would say that, speaking about one of the foremost painters in India, who went by the name Raja Ravi Verma. Swami would say, all these forms, Vishwa Virata Swarupa, all this are Ravi Verma paintings. Because that is not how it is, that is not the reality. The reality is, what did Arjuna see that day? Arjuna saw the Lord in everything. In every person on the battlefield, in every soldier, in every horse, in every elephant, in every tree, in every particle of sand. Because Arjuna had the fear, he had the sorrow, and he told Krishna, Krishna, how can I kill my own relatives? How can I kill my guru? How can I kill my uncles? How can I kill my brothers? And Krishna told him, you fool, who is killing whom? It is all a divine play and everything is divine. And that is when he gave him that vision, when Arjuna could see that everything is God. So then, this Advaita Darshanam, this vision of non-duality, this vision of oneness, that is Vishwarupa. And that is what Swami did on the 4th of October. Swami said those who wish to see can see, because there was the entire samashti, the society. Thousands of people had gathered. 20,000, 30,000 in fact. There were 30,000 hands, 15,000 heads, thousands of ears, thousands of eyes. That is the cosmic form of the Lord. And when Swami says, I am God, and if you inquire, you will find out you are also God. Swami shows that he is able to see this cosmic form of the Lord. We are not able to. Unless we see divinity in ourselves and divinity in everyone around, we can't have the darshan of the cosmic form of the Lord. But Bhagwan was always in this vision. He saw divinity in everyone. That's why he never addressed us as brothers and sisters, children, nothing. He called us embodiments of love. Because there is only love, there is only divinity everywhere, and each and every one of us is an embodiment of that love and divinity. See, whatever Swami says, he follows because his life is his message. That is the first part of our theme, right? My life is my message. When Swami says, my life is my message, it means Swami's life equal to Swami's message, mathematically. The next line Swami says, expansion is my life. My life is my message, expansion is my life. Expansion is my life, mathematically it means Swami's life is equal to expansion. So, the first equation is, my life is my message. Swami's life is equal to Swami's message. Second line, expansion is my life. Swami's life is equal to expansion. A equal to B, B equal to C, which means A equal to C. Therefore, when we say my life is my message, expansion is my life, it means Swami's message is expansion. Because Swami's message is Swami's life and expansion is Swami's life. So Swami's message is expansion. This line, what we have to learn is expansion. And what is this expansion? Swami would say expansion is expansion love. I have great love for myself. All of us love ourselves the most. That is why we are all selfish. That is why we are all selfish. First, Swami would say, in India, one of the most prestigious positions to hold is to become an IAS officer, meaning a member of the Indian Administrative Services. Swami would say, but IAS means what? I first, A, all others next, S, Sai last. Swami would say, don't become IAS, become SAI. Sai first, all others next, I last. That is expansion love. When I love my family more than I love myself, my love has expanded. When I love my co-workers in office, my family, all my friends, whomever I meet, then again my love has expanded. Can I keep expanding this love to such a limit, to a limitless limit, such that I love everything in the universe? Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Let all the beings in all the worlds be happy because I love everyone. That is Swami's message. That is Swami's message. To move from the individual to society, from society to nature, and from nature to God. We all say we love God, but we don't love each other. How can we love God? Swami would say, there is the finger. The finger is part of the palm. The palm is part of the hand. The hand is part of the body. Similarly, Swami would say the finger is the individual, you, me, each one of us. The palm is society, living together. The hand is nature. And the body is God. How can the finger tell that it loves the body if it doesn't take care of the palm? The palm is also part of the body, right? So Swami would say, how can an individual say that I love God but I won't serve society? That is different. I don't believe in serving. I'll just love God. It is wrong love. It is stupid love. It is foolish love. It is like the finger telling I love the body but I don't love the palm. The palm is part of the body. Society is part of God. If I love God, I have to love society. And if I love society, I have to serve society. The individual is part of the society. The society is part of nature. Nature is part of God. So if I love God, I have to love society. I have to love nature. And when I say I love society and I love nature, I have to serve society. I have to serve nature. That is expansion. That is what Swami says when he says expansion is my life. My life also should be expansion. And that is where the Sri Sathya Sai organizations, become very, very helpful and useful. Because here is a group of like-minded individuals. When I say like-minded, it may not mean that we are coming from similar circumstances or similar backgrounds or similar professions. No, all that can be different. When I say like-minded, I mean we are unified in our love for Swami. I may be in any profession, I may be in any country, I may be Spanish speaking, I may be English speaking, I may be Hindi speaking. All that we are different. I may be a man, I may be a woman, I may be a child, I may be an old person. All that is different. But you know what? I love Swami. That is common among all of us. That is the thing common in all the people of the Sathya Sai organization. When we think of people in the organization, sometimes we may feel he is not a good person. Oh, he is a very jealous person. He plays politics. He does dirty politics. We find faults with everyone. All of us have our faults. But every one of us have love for Swami. That is why we have come to the Sathya Sai organization. Otherwise, I would have gone elsewhere, right? If I only wanted to do politics, if I only wanted to express greed, if I only wanted to be jealous, I could do that anywhere. Why will I come to the Sathya Sai organization to do that? If I have come to the Sathya Sai organization, it is because I love Sathya Sai. Let us never ever forget that. And just as Swami says, the individual cannot say that I love God but I don't care for the society. Like that, I cannot say that I love Swami but I don't want to do organization activity. I don't want to be part of the organization. It's not right. We have to start off. Swami himself worked for the organization. Swami himself worked. Correct? So now, how do we begin this journey of expanding our love? How do we make expansion our life? How do we start seeing God in everyone? My boss is such a terrible person. Oh my God. When I go, he shouts at me. How can I see Swami in him? Yes, it is not easy to see God in everyone. So to start off with, can we start by seeing God in God? Can I see Swami in Swami? What is Arvind speaking? What is he saying? What does he mean by can I see Swami in Swami? What I mean is, can I see God in Swami? I'm not joking. We say Swami is God. What is our definition of God? God is the most loving, most wise, best being in the whole universe. Correct? If I believe Swami is God, it means I believe that he is the most loving and the best and most wise being in this universe. Then, why do I fold my hands and pray, Swami, please let this happen. Swami, please let that happen. Swami, please let me get this job. Swami, please let me marry this person. Swami, please let this happen, let that happen. Why? Do I know better than Swami? Am I wiser than Swami? I don't have faith in his decision. Swami, please, I must get this job. This is the best job. If I don't get this job, it will not be good. Do I know what is good? Every time I pray and ask something from Swami, I am showing possibly that I don't trust his wisdom. That is why I said, can we start off by seeing God in God? When I say that I see God in Swami, it means that whatever he gives to me, I accept it as his gift and I am happy. When somebody gives us a gift, we are happy, right? whether pain or sorrow, joy or sadness, profit or loss, victory or defeat, I must be able to receive that as a gift from Swami and feel happy. Then alone can I say that I have faith in Swami as God. Because God is most wise. God is most loving. Which means He'll never give me something that is not good for me. He can't. Because He loves me so much. He loves me more than anybody else in the whole universe. So how can He give me something that is not good for me? Correct? I may be suffering now, but I know it is for my good. I took my baby girl to the doctor to give the injection, and when she was given the injection, she was in great pain. She cried. She probably felt that her father is cheating her, taking her and getting her poked. But all I could tell my daughter was, Bhakti, you don't understand. You will come to know later as you grow up that what I did is good for you because you are protected against so many diseases. Every time we get pain in our life, let us remember that our divine parent, our Swami, is telling us, my dear baby, my most sweet baby, I know that it pains, but I am doing this for your good. When you grow up, when we grow up, we will be able to appreciate what God did for us. To be able to have that faith and that surrender in Swami, that is the meaning of seeing God in Swami. So before seeing God in the entire universe, can I start off by seeing God in Swami first? First, let me work on that. Let me work in my heart to build a connection with Swami. A strong connection with Swami so that I can see God in Swami. After that, let me narrate one more interesting experience that happened to one of our brothers. He's currently teaching in the university here. His name is Dr. Deepak Anand. In 1998, in the convocation drama, every year on the 22nd of November, there is the convocation of the Sri Sathya Sai University. And on that day, the students of the university put up a play. And a lot of importance is given to this drama because in the earlier years, Swami himself would be fully involved. He would watch the rehearsals multiple times. He would make corrections. He will change the script. He will check the costume. He will do everything. He will be part of everything in the drama. As I said, before the convocation day itself, Swami would have seen the drama 10 times. And on the convocation day, Swami will sit and watch with all eagerness. And as the emotional scenes play out in the drama, Swami will become emotional. As happy scenes come, Swami will become happy. And I used to wonder, Swami, what is it that you are doing? You have seen this drama 10 times already. Again, you are sitting and seeing it. But there's a message there also. That is what Swami does with the world also. He has written the script. He knows the play. He knows the actors. He knows the costume. He knows the situation. He knows the plot. He knows the beginning. He knows the ending. And yet, he comes and enjoys the drama like the audience. God knows everything, but he behaves like he knows nothing. We know nothing, but we behave like we know everything. So anyway, in that year drama, Deepak Anand was playing the role of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. If you know, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is the guru of Swami Vivekananda. And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is a great devotee of Mother Kali. He used to worship Mother Kali in that form. The God in the form of the mother as Mother Kali. Now, as the drama rehearsal began, Swami came and he said, see, in the altar, there is no idol. So place an idol there. Then only Ramakrishna Paramahamsa can worship. They went to search for an idol of goddess Kali. Now, it is not easy to get that idol in Puttaparthi or in South India also, because goddess Kali is a form that is worshipped in the western side of India, the northern side of India, mostly in Bengal. So not easily available. Now as they were searching, Swami gives a large statue of Lord Krishna and he tells keep it in the altar. Now they thought, oh God, Swami made a mistake, because Ramakrishna is not a devotee of Krishna. His name has got the word Krishna, but he is a devotee of Mother Kali. So they said, Swami, Ramakrishna is not Krishna devotee, he is, Kali. Swami said, no, keep Krishna. So they kept Krishna. The next day for rehearsal, they thought that they will get a Kali idol, and they got a small statue. But when they replaced it, Swami said, no, keep Krishna. Keep Krishna there. And they're like, Swami, this is factually wrong, because Ramakrishna did not worship Krishna. Ramakrishna worshipped Kali. Swami, no, keep Krishna. And so Krishna idol was kept there. And this went on. They even tried to replace the Krishna idol with a smaller idol, a smaller idol of Krishna only. Their plan was, on the final day when the drama is performed, when audience are sitting at a distance, they will not be able to see the small idol of Krishna, correct? So they won't make out that it is Krishna and they will be saved. They didn't want to keep a big idol of Krishna and make a factual error. But when they replaced it, Swami said, no, get back that big idol, put back that big Krishna. And so it was that the big Krishna idol had to be placed. This went on for many days. A few days before the convocation drama, Swami comes and he says, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa did not worship Krishna. Remove Krishna idol, get Mother Kali. So Mother Kali was kept. And everyone was happy. They said, Abba, finally Swami understood his mistake. We are happy. This is what apparently happened. But Deepak Anand had a different story to tell. When he got this role as Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he first went and read everything about Ramakrishna, got to know so that he can act that role better. When he saw the photograph of Mother Goddess Kali, you can just Google for it and see the picture. Black in color the goddess is, with a garland of human skulls. Tongue is outside, blood red, anger in the eyes, hair fully disheveled, a big brutal sword in hand. And when Deepak Anand looked at this, he thought, oh my God, how can I fall in love with this form of the Lord? I don't have any love for this form of the Lord. And at that time, Swami comes and tells, put Krishna. And Krishna is the family deity for Deepak Anand. He has been worshipping Krishna from childhood. Deepak Anand was very happy. He could express love to this form of the Lord during the rehearsals. And even as he was doing this, every day, Swami would call Deepak Anand aside and tell him about the mother, about Kali. Gave him a mantra to chant about the mother. And filled him with so many things about the mother. And as Deepak Anand heard this, slowly in his mind, the love for Krishna and the love for Kali became same. Because he realized they are just different aspects or different facets of the same Lord. God is one. We know him by different names, that's all. Just like we call water, Niru, Pani, Tanni, different names for the same water in different languages. In the same way, we call different names for God, but God is one. God is one. When Deepak Anand realized it, he no longer felt repulsion towards the form of Kali. He felt the same love towards Mother Kali as well. And the moment his heart had changed, Swami said, remove Krishna, bring back Kali. Wow. What a wonderful Lord we have, right? And in this experience, Swami has shown us what to do. First, fall in love with God. Worship whichever form you like, but there has to be God. Develop faith in God, surrender to God. Now imagine if Deepak Anand didn't have this love for Krishna, what could Swami have done? You have to start off, have like that intense love and devotion first. That's why I said the first step to expand, to have expansion love, is to see God in God. Any form. Choose Jesus, choose Rama, choose Krishna, choose Ganesha, choose Swami, choose Shirdi Baba, choose Zoroastra, choose Guru Nanak, choose Buddha, any form you choose. But definitely choose. Pick one form of God and begin to see God in that God. Then we will have love for God. Once we do that, the next step, like how Swami made Deepakanand do, to see Krishna in Kali, to see Swami in Kali. Now, because I have great love for Swami, I have got great regard for Swami, I have faith in Swami, I surrender to Swami. Swami is the ultimate being in my life. Once I reach that level, then when I see Swami in somebody else, I will be able to get that love. I will be able to see beyond the defects in that person, because my love for God is greater than my hate for the defects. And let's begin with family. Let me see Swami in my mother. Let me see Swami in my father. Let me see Swami in my husband, in my wife, in my child. That is why Swami would start by saying, Matru Devo Bhava, treat the mother as God. Pitru Devo Bhava, treat the father as God. Acharya Devo Bhava, treat your teacher as God. You know, this is the immediate circle that we have. To expand, first after we see Swami in Swami, let us start seeing Swami in our near and dear ones, in our mother, in our father, in our guru, in our guests, in our friends. And then, can we see Swami in a diverse group of people? That is where our organization becomes so helpful for us. It helps us to see Swami in a diverse group of people who have at least something common. It becomes difficult for me to see Swami in a terrorist, possibly. It becomes difficult for me to see Swami in some person who comes and criticizes Swami, possibly. But it is easier to see Swami in a person who has love for Swami at least. He or she may have many defects. Like all of us in the organization, we have our own defects and faults. But all of us have love for Swami. There is no debating that. All of us love Swami in our own way. So in that way, it becomes easier to see Swami in all of us, because all of us have love for Swami. So therefore, the organization becomes a very fertile sadhana ground. Can I do this sadhana of seeing my Swami in everybody in the organization? Because if I can't see Swami in everybody in the organization, then I can't see Swami in everybody in the universe, in everything in the universe, not just everybody. I have to see Swami in everything in the universe. So just like our family is a gift from Swami to us, so that we can practice seeing Swami in people whom we love, the organization is a gift for us to start seeing Swami and serving Swami in everybody we see. Because everybody is united by this love for Swami. And once we become successful in that, like Swami, we can expand our love to those who are beyond the organization as well. Start seeing Swami in everyone. Start seeing Swami in lion, tiger. That's what Swami did when he went to Africa. That's why Swami would say that he fed apples to crocodiles. He said, I threw apples to the crocodiles. Swami said, I went near the lions and they were not at all scared of me. I was not scared of them. There was so much of love. Once we start seeing Swami in everyone, the Swami in everyone will respond to us. In fact, Hal Honig, a devotee, narrates an incident when he was traveling in a subway train late in the night. A man comes and pulls out a switchblade knife and starts threatening the few passengers who were there. And Hal Honig got so scared. He thought, oh my God, now my life is in danger. And this person comes in that empty compartment and sits right next to Hal Honig. But Hal Honig decides to follow Swami's words. You know, at least when our life is in danger, we try to follow Swami's words. But these situations, even the so-called danger situations, are situations that God creates as opportunities for us to practice His teachings. And Hal Honig was a devotee who was blessed enough to be able to practice it. He said, Swami, I am going to see you in this person. And because he saw Swami in that person who was trying to rob, instead of seeing the switchblade knife, he saw a very depressed and sad and tired person. So he opened his bag and said, Dear sir, would you like to have a sandwich? The moment he offered the sandwich, that person's eyes became wet. He was moved. Love is such a beautiful cure for everything. He accepted the sandwich, ate it, sat for a while beside Hal Honig, then got up and just walked out. And before getting down from the train, looked at Hal Honig and said, Thank you, sir. Got down. Look at that. Was it the robber? No. It was Swami in the robber. Why? Because Hal Honig did not speak to the robber. He spoke to Swami in the robber. He was practicing expansion love. I can see in my clock here that my time is up. So I'm grateful to Swami for this opportunity, for this wonderful opportunity. I have only one prayer to make, Swami. Swami, first of all, let us develop intense love for you. Let us love you with all our heart, with every cell in our being. Let us love you more and more every moment, because life is of no use if we don't love you, Swami. Love for you is the greatest blessing that we can have. Love for you is the only meaningful thing in our lives. And once we develop that love, Swami, let us start seeing you in everyone. Like your life became your message, let our life become your message. Just like expansion was your life, let expansion become our life. Let us see you in everyone and let us serve you in everyone. So that one day, Swami, one day we will realize the truth of the statement that you always have said. I am God and you are God. The only difference is I know it but you don't. Once we start seeing you in everyone, Swami, we will realize our unity with you. Till then, may the love in our hearts grow stronger and stronger every passing moment. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.